one of the things that I like to think through is perspective. The word perspective to me means how do you view your world? Not only perspective, but also perception. How do different events impact you? Or what is your impression of different things impacting you? So if I said the sentence, I'm mad about my flat, if you lived in America, you would be very angry that you had a flat tire. But if you said the sentence, I'm mad about my flat, if you lived in London, England, you say, I'm very happy with my brand new apartment. Do you see the
Mhm.
perspective changes depending upon
Right.
who you are, what your upbringing was? Were you raised in a loving home? Were you raised in the church? Were you raised by an alcoholic parent? All those things influence your perspective and your perception. And so, thinking through that with the question that we're talking about, let's say that you come to this question and you're just curious. I've seen other people have struggles. I can't really say that I've had intense struggles. So, why? That would be more of a head knowledge. I'm curious and I want to know the why. But if you came to a different person who had just lost, say, his wife in a fire, he's not interested in the head knowledge of why. He wants to know about the heart. God, why does it hurt so bad? And to be fair, if we say it's bad, the only way we know it's bad is that we also have some sense of good, right? The only reason that we know there's darkness is because there's an absence of light. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense if you don't know what I mean, if there's no light without darkness, there's no good without bad, there's no good without evil.
If you ask 8 billion people, what's the purpose of life? A good majority of those folks would say that I would be happy. But if you ask God, what is the purpose of life? I think the Bible screams that I want to be praised, honored, and glorified for who I am as God. And when, as a believer, when you realize where you were, and then through the grace of God from what Jesus did on the cross, his death, burial, and resurrection, he saved me from where I was. And now he's put me in a whole different situation. I'm not just I'm, every other species of animal on the planet lives by the survival of the fittest, right? The big lions try to chase the weakest antelope. But when they catch the weakest antelope and kill it, we don't call it murder, do we? We call it their survival. That's an understandable rule in the animal kingdom. When two fish get together, whether or not one of them had permission or the other to make more fish eggs, we don't call that rape. We call that survival of the fittest. But but people don't really live by survival of the fittest. God says that we are their greatest. God says that we are His greatest creation. He made us in the image of God. So he gave us, before he set Adam and Eve up in a perfect garden, there weren't any weeds. God would walk around with Adam and Eve in the cool of the day. And then Satan tempted the woman. And it's interesting to me that he asked her a question. Has God indeed said that you shall not eat of every tree of the garden? So if you analyze that question, has God indeed said you shall not eat of every tree of the garden? I'm sure Eve thought, well, I think that's what he said, but I'm not 100% sure. Maybe he didn't say that. So the first thing she does is she begins to question God, right? And then the devil asks her another question and then another question. And every time she answers, her doubt gets a little bit more toward the Lord God. And she said, in the day that we eat of it, we will surely die. And the serpent said, "You will not surely die, for God knows that in the day that you eat of it, your eyes will be open and you will be like God, knowing good and evil." So she sits there and has a conversation with the devil, which, guess what, Bill? If you have a conversation with the devil, who's going to win and who's going to lose?
He's gonna win. He's been around for thousands of years, and he's seen a lot more than we have. He's
Ab-
been through every scenario.
Absolutely.